It's 1951 at Johns Hopkins Hospital, Baltimore. Henrietta Lacks, a poor black tobacco farmer, sits unknowingly in a colored ward as doctors snip a piece of her tumor. They don't ask permission. That tiny sample, it's about to rewrite medical history and bury Henrietta's identity beneath a tide of HeLa cells still multiplying in labs today. But who is she really? And what did the world owe her family? Let's unravel the tangled legacy of immortality and ethics. Henrietta's cells became legendary, but her roots ground the story in deep, complex soil. To understand HeLa, you need the full dirt, the struggles, the birthplace, the raw humanity. Henrietta Lacks grew up in Clover, Virginia, a town still haunted by its past, wooden quarters for enslaved families, whispers of faith healers, and old voodoo practices. She worked the same tobacco fields her enslaved ancestors once plowed, barely scraping by. This environment shaped her resilience, rooted in faith and survival long before her cells sparked scientific revolutions. Doctors took Henrietta's cancer cells and were shocked. These cells defied death, doubling and multiplying endlessly in the lab. Imagine a tiny seed that grows into an endless forest. That's what HeLa cells did. Unlike normal cells that wither away, Henrietta's cells became immortal, revolutionizing how scientists study human biology in a dish. HeLa cells propelled humanity forward. Polio vaccines, cancer studies, even early cloning efforts relied on them. Weighing over 50 million metric tons if piled together, they've been bought, sold, and shipped worldwide. Yet Henrietta's name remained buried, unheard, even as her cells touched every corner of modern medicine. Henrietta's cells sparked revolutionary breakthroughs, but a darker story lurked: questions of consent, race, and who benefits when human tissue becomes a commodity. In 1951, Henrietta never signed a consent form. Doctors simply took samples during her treatment. Medical ethics barely existed around patient rights, especially for black patients. Her cells were shipped to labs, studied, multiplied, sold without her or her family ever knowing. This silent extraction raises raw questions: who owns your body after death? Decades later, Henrietta's children learned of their mother's cellular immortality through cold research papers, not family conversations. Worse still, scientists involved her husband and kids in experimental studies without informed consent. They'd been left in the dark while the world profited off their mother's identity, a painful legacy of medical exploitation entwined with racial injustice. Henrietta's story ignited a movement, sparking bioethics discussions nationwide. We saw the birth of patient rights, informed consent laws, and debates on genetic privacy. The story echoed America's troubling history of using black bodies for experiments, forcing society to reckon with justice, respect, and control over our own cells. HeLa cells live on, multiplying like no other. But immortality isn't free. It weighs heavy on Henrietta's descendants, on medicine's conscience, and on how we handle human life. Billions of HeLa cells have been grown, sold, and studied worldwide, for everything from cancer research to cosmetics testing, but Henrietta's family didn't see a dime for decades. This gap exposes how medical profiteering often sidelines the very people who made it possible, especially marginalized communities. Today, HeLa cells remain essential in labs, helping map human genes, develop therapies, and even advance immunotherapy. They're the unsung heroes behind some of medicine's greatest leaps, quietly shaping our future under fluorescent lab lights that never flicker off. Henrietta's family has fought to reclaim her story and demand respect, igniting ongoing debates about ownership of biological materials and the rights of patients and their descendants. Their struggle is a powerful reminder: immortality in science carries real human costs, and recognition matters just as much as discovery. Back in that dim hospital ward, Henrietta had no idea a piece of her would become immortal. Yet her story teaches us how science without ethics risks haunting generations. Next time you think about medical advances, try this: remember the human behind the breakthrough. Let Henrietta's legacy remind us to demand respect, not just results, in all our discoveries. Subscribe for more book summaries like this one.